Okay, so good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
We have Bettina Henderson. She's as a social worker from Round Top Elementary and Blythewood Middle School. And we were supposed to have Laird Summers from Palmetto Place, but she just sent me a message and said she's not feeling well this morning, so she's not showing up. But just a little background on Palmetto Place. They're one of our partners that we, if you heard Mike this morning, you'll hear Mike later, are recipients of the road-widening fund that we tithe. And we also, for Palmetto Place, we provide a meal for Samantha House once a month. And Samantha House is the house that does that holds young people. They've started out with just 6 people, and now they're trying to grow to 9, hold 9 people. So those are the young adults that transfer from. They graduate and they transfer from the unaccompanied youth house, which is called the Oaks. That's in West Columbia, and then they help them adjust and transfer into adulthood and be able to budget. And I guess one of the things with providing a healthy meal is to get them to learn that they can do things on their own and make a meal instead of just stopping by McDonald's. And then we have Bettina Henderson is from Richland too, and she's gonna give you a little. I looked in her background, and she has some fun things on her website, and she put together for the summer all different things that her students could look up, like reading and the Richland County Sheriff's Department held classes, summer camps. And it was just a great tool that you put together. So I'll turn it over to David. You want to say something?
I was talking to you.
Okay.
Thank you so much, and thank you guys for having me. Bear with me. I have a presentation, and it was supposed to be for you to see, but I'm going to look at it, and we're just going to roll with it. And I'll be fine. I brought my emotional support human today. So we'll get through this together. So again, my name is Bettina Henderson, and I'm at Blythewood Middle in Round Top. I've been with the district for 13 years now, probably going on 14 years now. And I've always been at Round Top, but I've been at a few other middle schools in the area. And I work very closely with the high school social workers and so forth, because of course we share families, so when we pass a family along, we have to call and make sure our people are being taken care of and kind of give a heads up. So we'll talk a little bit about unaccompanied youth. I, as an elementary and middle school level social worker, won't have a ton of unaccompanied youth because, they're babies, and if they're unaccompanied, then something's really wrong. But believe it or not, I have had a couple in certain circumstances. But I'll kind of tell you how that ties into where we go. So just bear with me. So who are school social workers? We're basically a tie between the community, home, and the school. So we serve from pre-K to 12th grade. We used to have a pre-K social worker where she served all of the pre-K in the district, but now all of the elementary schools have a pre-K program, so we start there. And it works out well because you don't have to pass along another family to a different social worker. We support academic success by addressing social, emotional, and environmental needs. So whether that be with group, individual, our jobs kind of overlap a little bit with the school counselor, but I like to say we're a little bit more flexible. So we, all of the social workers in the district, it's 22 of us total, are licensed social workers. So many people don't know this, but a licensed master's level social worker is also a therapist. So we're not necessarily doing therapy in the schools because we don't have the time for kids to come lay on our couch, so to speak, although they do. But we do have those clinical skills, and so we provide those within the school. And like I said, we also do group. We kind of break up group with the counselor, and we also do crisis, meaning crisis assessments, suicide assessments. Anytime there's a threat, we're on that team. Anytime there's any type of emergency within the school, a staff death, student death, anything you hear in the news, the social worker is probably involved and getting on that team. Kind of talk about that. We also do some parent education, like she spoke about. I send out a flyer when the summer starts, because when the summer kicks in, everybody wants to know what to do with their kids. So I like to send out camps for all ages, and kind of give resources for parents to also help kids with retaining information over the summer and things like that. And one big part of our job is helping kids that are experiencing homelessness. And I know probably long ago, I grew up in Richland too. And I know back when I went through Richland too, we were almost seen as one of the more affluent districts in the area. And so when people spoke about homelessness, it was shock, because everyone thought that was kind of an inner city problem, so to speak. But we learned real fast that it was a huge problem within our district as well. This year alone, I think we've identified 592 homeless students, which it's called McKinney-Vento. It's the coding, it's a federal law. And in this year, it's been 592 total. And I'm pretty sure there's others out there that we, unfortunately, for whatever reason, did not identify. Obviously, parents get scared when they're experiencing that. They don't realize that we're there to help. We're not there to judge. They don't realize that, being homeless is not bad parenting, and that we want to offer them resources. So I'm sure there's others out there that we didn't identify.
How many people in the school?
In the district?
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I mean, almost 600 of them.
Yeah, and that's just elementary school. You're talking like 400 and something. So when you go to middle school, we're looking at like 800 and something. The high schools, thousands. So,
wow.
Yeah. So you add up all of that with all of the schools in Richland too, because I'm speaking, those numbers are each school. So like my elementary school has like 400 and something. So, I became a social worker because I'm not good at math. So I let you do the math.
There are a variety of books, aren't there? Yeah.
That's a lot of students. Yeah. That's a lot of people. And that's a lot of young people and little people experiencing real world things that some of us, even as adults, couldn't imagine. So underneath that kind of umbrella of McKinney-Vento or homelessness, we have what's called unaccompanied youth. Unaccompanied youth are students, for whatever reason, they are living without a parent or a legal guardian. And so, when those forms come home, first day of school or whenever we need permission for things, they may not have a legal person. They may be staying with someone, but they may not have a legal person to do those things, to get them enrolled in school. All those things that we traditionally require, right? So I'm trying to think of a good example. Unaccompanied youth. At a middle school level, I had one student I can think of where the parent just kind of dropped the student off with a friend and left. And so in that situation, it's going to take some time before that person can take on guardianship. And we can't hold a student's education while we go through legal red tape and go through the courts and all of that. So that's when we kind of code them in our system as they're coded McKinney-Vento, unaccompanied youth, and that kind of lets us go ahead and immediately enroll them in school, as well as access all the beautiful resources like those that you guys help us to provide, in order to make sure they have everything they need and that they have a fair right at education as their peers.
So is that where you would refer to Palmetto Place?
Possibly, depending on the situation. I've had some where maybe whoever they're with couldn't keep them, or if you have a high schooler that may be couch surfing or whatever, then you may refer to Palmetto Place because they're going to be a more stable environment. They're going to provide their resources. They're going to work hand in hand with us in order to make sure that student has, I guess for lack of a better term, kind of an acting guardianship, so to speak. So they have been a great resource for us. Even I know I've worked with them myself in emergency situations when we've needed like a placement for a child, just even if it's just overnight or whatever. So yeah, that would be a good opportunity that we would definitely work with Palmetto Place. I think given the age that they work with, high school social workers work with them a lot more than I would, but on occasion, like I said, I have the occasional unaccompanied youth in like exceptional situations where I may call on them as well. So yeah, we beat their door down. Like we're very we work very closely together.
If you were here for Quillowing Sunday, we Deborah DePaul's son Asher and the two other boys who were part of Quillowing our scholarship. One of those young men went home from school one day and all his belongings were on the sidewalk, just sitting out there, and there was no one in the house there was no one who would come to the door. And so he happened to know Deborah's son, and that's another, like, it was just one day became an unaccompanied youth. And so Deborah took him in and basically became a part of it. But there's, that's was an immediate result just because he knew someone and had a loving parent of a friend who was willing to make him part of their home. And you just, there are all kinds of situations out there that we don't think about.
Right. And like you said, sometimes we have to get very creative in using our resources, and that's where community partners step in. And because unfortunately, and it's the one thing I love about social work, but that can also be frustrating, is there's no cookie cutter response to any situation. Like, the stories are all heartbreaking. And there's just because I may have handled a situation similar to that, there can be one small factor in that throws me a curveball that I have to kind of adjust or reach out in a different way. Like, what if him not having that loving contact to rely on? Because we get a lot of kids that don't have that, and it's like, okay, what do we do? So it gets frustrating, but it's a rewarding job, and it changes every day. That's one of the things I like about it. It's never boring. So we also support them with direct resources. Each year, is right about now, while I'm trying to avoid emails because I'm like, no, you can't get me back into school. Summer break is not over. Abby starts sending out the emails asking, okay, let me know what supplies we need. And we try to anticipate then, as far as school supplies, we order ahead of time. We also order hygiene products, things that sometimes people don't think about. Even like laundry detergent, because depending on where the students are staying, maybe they don't have direct access to that. Feminine health hygiene products, those are always in big demand. So those things we provide directly to the students, and we provide that to all students. Like some of the students in the school think we're a store and we're Walmart, and anytime they need anything, they're going to come and knock in, and we don't turn them away. We give them what they need. So, but especially these kids, we provide those items for, and we also try to keep on a supply of food and snacks for our students. Because even sometimes if they're in like a stable place or stable placement, or if they're at home, sometimes they may not have access to snacks. For those of you who may have had like elementary age students, a lot of the schools started giving that little snack in the afternoon. and letting students have the snack if they have like a late lunch time. That became a big deal because some kids couldn't afford to bring a snack. And so as social workers, we started making snack packs and dropping them off at the classroom so that those kids, and we would do it discreetly. We'd come and just pass a bag to a teacher and let that teacher just pull it out the cabinet to give to that student at snack time. So there's different direct resources we provide as well. And as well as like with Palmetto Place, Salvation Army, and things like that, we help with like getting them in shelter. And we also, I wanted to mention that with life skills, whether that be through group or whatever else, like some of the kids through Palmetto Place, they're starting to transition into independent living. And there's some life skills that you and I might have learned from our moms and dads or whatever that they didn't get that opportunity to learn. So one thing that comes to mind is like the social worker at Blythewood High School. She's doing a cooking group. And so she teaches, especially with unaccompanied youth, she teaches them to cook and prepare nutritious, simple meals. And so that's been like a valuable resource, and the kids love it. So just things like that that we try to incorporate like within the schools so that we can help them to become like healthy adults. They know how to cook a meal and do things. I myself, I'm working with younger kids, but I do a fitness group so that I can start teaching healthy habits and teaching simple workout, because these are all things that we learn, that we take for granted, that we learn growing up in a healthy environment and household. So, the importance of our community partners, such as yourself, as I said before, resources are limited. Resources are limited. As politics and government changes, so do laws, and what's available is going to change. And students' needs are still going to be there. And so we have to find ways to provide those needs. It helps, the other important thing is it helps build connections within the community. Because these kids are not living in a hole somewhere, they're your neighbors. They are the people you pass in the grocery store and things like that. And so it's healthy to like let them see people within their community that they see moving around their community, helping them and caring about them. I have a long stand, I'm up in Blythewood, of course, so I have a long partnership with Blythewood Press. And I connected a family with them, and this happened to be a single mom with boys. And as a boy mom, I helped her in any way I could because I knew she needed it. And so I connected her with them. It was just for a resource, like I think it was like getting lights turned on or something like that. And some of the men in the church saw a need. And so they went out and started to mentor the boys. They went out and helped them to learn to like cut grass and do things that your fathers probably taught you how to do. And so the boys could like help with go cut the neighbor's grass once we got them into placement for a little bit of extra money. So just simple things like that, building those connections within the community and not just, here you go and your lights are turned back on. It let them see like there are adults in this world that care about me. Churches and organizations such as yourself that step up encourage other churches to step up in our community. Because like I said, especially in Blythewood, where I've been at since I've been there, there wasn't an idea of the scope of the problem. But when they see churches like yourself stepping up, it made some of them kind of step up and say, I wonder if this is a problem in our area. And it made them start to reach out and ask where they could help. And finally, we just cannot do it without you. Like, there's no part of my job that I can do without the support and the community connections that I have. I can talk to a student, I can have a group, but we all know that kids are going to need more than that. And I can't do that without you because we just don't have the means to. So just a few of our community partners. I want to give a shout out to you guys. Abby made me make sure I mention that you guys are our longest standing partnership for Richland 2 for our backpack program. And as far as our backpack program goes, to give you an idea, this year alone, we provided 700 to 800 bags of food weekly. 700 to 800 bags of food weekly to our students with food instability. Can you imagine that? Again, you do the math. But that's a lot of fed kids. And trust me, like, we are not going to Food Lion. We are not, we don't have it in our pockets to do so. We're doing it because of you guys. This kind of work is because of you guys. And trust me, when we don't show up with those bags on Friday, they hunt us down. So I thank you. I thank you. Go ahead.
What happens in the summertime?
We have summer feeding programs where some of the schools, like, we try to position the summer feeding programs strategically so that they're in our highest need areas, but that each area has one close. But the kids can come up to the school and get a meal. I think they can get breakfast and lunch. And there's certain times that they can come up and get it. And a lot of times it's at a school within walking distance. I know that for myself, and also a lot of the other social workers also pack summer bags. So I pack a bunch of summer bags and leave them. I have a little area or whatever, and I leave instructions for the receptionist because she works through the summer. But I leave instructions for her to, if anybody calls needing food, to, that these bags are here, you can get these to them. Or in extreme circumstances, they know how to find us. And he knows I've had to leave in the middle of the summer, in the middle of a weekend, sometimes to go take some food in the middle of a flood. The floods of 2015, we were out there making sure people had food. So we get food to them. We make it happen. The district will send out a disclaimer that'll be like, we do not want you all on the road. They don't address it to social workers, but they mean social workers. But, and what do? We get on the road and we go give out food. I even have a picture of our youngest when he was like 1 or 2 in a wagon with the bags of food during that time to pass it out with me. So the kids get involved too. Some of our other partnerships, of course, Palmetto Place. Salvation Army helps us with getting a lot of our families housed again, or helping them to maintain housing. Christian Assistance Bridge helps a lot with food or other financial resources. They're a great resource. As I mentioned earlier, Blythewood Presbyterian Church, and many other churches and organizations within the community. So like I said, we can't do this work without you. I'm just glad I had enough sense when I first came into the district first thing I did was start to connect with some of those resources and connect with some of those churches. And Blythewood Pres happened to be one of them. So together, I want you guys to remember what we're doing. We're empowering students. We're strengthening families. We're not coming in, we're not taking over. We're giving the families the resources they need to build and to make their situation better. And overall, we're building stronger community through those connections and through those resources. Any questions? I have a contact slide, but I'm not that hard to find. She said, just Google me. I'm not that hard to find, but if you want like real answers to your questions, then talk to Abby, because she's the woman in charge, and she'll kind of be able to give you a broader range of answers to your questions and connections. She has all the spreadsheets and the good stuff. So thank you guys so much. Oh, I'm sorry.
When you say you have groups, when do you have the groups?
Oh, all the time. We try to
During the school day?
Yeah, we try to do them during the school day. It's like a puzzle. So we try to do them during times where we don't interrupt instructional time. Like maybe there's like different like enrichment times and things like that. We may pull kids for group, but like I know like my fitness group, I do it after school because I didn't want to, I knew it was going to be too much disruption to the day and I didn't want to send the kids smelling like little puppies back to the classroom.
Imagine.
Any other questions?
I have one.
Yeah, sure.
It's somewhat personal in nature, but I just like to hear you address it. Like, so the stories you hear and the situations you see, I know it breaks your heart. How do you go home and function and turn it off or turn it on? I know you can't turn it off, but what kind of mechanisms do you use to kind of deal with that whole situation? Because it's there all the time.
Right. This guy. No, but it's after a while, because I've worked in various populations. I've worked everywhere from mental health. I've worked in the prison system. I worked in a level 3 prison. And then coming to the school district. So after a while, you just kind of learn to, and he'll tell you, I don't always leave it. Because literally, I don't always leave it. There's been times where I've brought home clothes to wash for a family and things like that. But you just try to remember that in order to keep doing this work, you got to take care of self. And you have to make that time for yourself. Together we have 5 kids.
Wow.
And so that running that show when I get home kind of is a good distraction from it. But I do this work for them, and I do it because I would want somebody to be there for my family the same way. And I serve families the same way I would want somebody to work for mine.
Amen.
Thank you.
How many kids do you have in like Round Top and Blythewood Middle or how many backpacks do you require at your school?
The number last year, what was my total? I want to say between both schools, it was maybe about 22 or so. Yeah, between both schools. And that's a low number for me. I've been up into the 30s. But as some of my kids moved on to high school or whatever else, I mean, yes, they were replaced by other kids. But this past year happened to be a pretty low number, and it was maybe about 20-something.
Karen, our bags go where?
Well, we go 30 go to Rice Creek Elementary. 25 go to Joseph Keels. Joseph Keels was our original school that we started with. We started just doing 15 bags, and we've grown up to be 80. And then Blythewood Academy, they get 15, and then Muller Road gets 10.
Wow.
Up in Blythewood. But we also have a partnership with Christian Assisted Bridge. So like we have a Stuff-A-Bus event coming up. So we're going to be at IGA in Blythewood and Kroger and Two Notch. Those are the 2 that we got confirmed so far. And so we collect backpack items, and then we also collect for Christian Assisted Bridge, like canned goods or things that they need.
Yeah, and God, I can't express how much we appreciate the work you guys do. Blythewood Pres has been providing my bags for the 2 schools since I've been there, but there's so many schools that don't have support right now. And so if you do know of any other organizations, any other churches that we want to step up and help support those schools, then please feel free to let us know, because we're constantly looking for support for our backpack programs. I know some schools have even had to kind of cut their numbers or put a cap on their numbers because of the resources available. So, like I said, we're always looking for those resources and support for that.
I think you may have answered this, but just I know there's shortages of staff, teachers, social workers, whatever. But the standard right now is that each school at all the levels would have a social worker, or what?
Half a social worker.
Or half. What?
I laugh because I'm one of the few social workers that still has 2 schools.
Okay, right,
So
yeah.
many of the schools have one social worker. Like they try to do at least all the high schools have one social worker. They always have.
Okay.
But they've tried to move it to all the middle schools now have a full-time social worker,
Okay.
but me.
Yeah. Right.
So the other social workers, I think that have 2 schools, mostly have like 2 elementary
Yeah,
schools.
2 elementary.
But yeah, but I do have a middle and an elementary, but I don't complain.
And the pre-K
Yeah.
are part of the elementary.
Part of the elementary,
school.
yeah. Because I get to stay with my family, so I don't complain.
Yeah. Okay.
So when you say they have a snack in the afternoon, what is that, like a little bag of chips or what's
Yeah,
the-
I try to switch it up for them for mine. It may be like a pudding cup, a granola bar, a little chip bag or a little bag of pretzels and things like that. So it's just something they can eat really quick. Sometimes to, depending on which grade level and where their lunch falls, it's something to tide them over to get to lunch. Because sometimes these kids, they eat lunch kind of late at like, and it doesn't sound late because it's like 12 or so, but if you work in an elementary school, then like for me, I get hangry if I'm not eating at 11. And they've gotten me on their schedule. So usually if they have the late lunch period, they'll the teachers will let them bring a little snack in. So, any other questions?
Is that something we might need to be adding to,
That's what I was asking.
you know, the different, you know, the schools that we're supporting?
Do they do that at all the schools, or is
I
that
don't know
something
about
that-
all of the schools. I know quite a few might do it, and I know almost all of the social workers keep snacks, period.
Yeah.
So we will never turn away snacks because the kids will come to us. Like even like there's times we have kids come in, maybe even in the morning that have not had breakfast or something, and we need to like take them in and give them a quick snack. So we never turn away snacks.
How has you've been affected by the cut in government funds from things like USDA and all stuff like that? Is it going to impact your programs?
Short answer is yes, for sure. And that's where we will end up relying more on different community resources and our other resources. So unfortunately, yeah. And we haven't, of course, we haven't had time to see that hit yet, but you know how you kind of brace yourself for what's coming? That's what we're kind of doing. We're digging in and just bracing for what's coming, because regardless of what's coming, we're still going to provide. Any other questions?
It just seems the numbers, you said you left math because behind, I join you, variety of gifts, we do what we have the best gifts in. But I'm wondering, is that something that is displayed on the side of the bus when we do stuff a bus? This will help X number of students, so many from high school, so many from middle school, so many in Richland too?
Yeah, our banner, when we put it up, just says, you know, it's a big stuff of us, so that people going in the stores know that that's what's going on. You know, it doesn't, we could make up a flyer.
Yeah, maybe that to
you
hand
know,
back to the person and your donation just helped some of these people, and there's how many, a lot more than I would have imagined.
Yeah, and we all track our numbers. So, like, at the end of the year while we're trying to run out the door to summer break, I was like, come back here and put your numbers in the spreadsheet. So we all track our numbers for each year. And so if that's something you need, you can probably reach out to her and get, like, some numbers if you needed it. And she has them. Like, she was able to give me numbers off the top of her head. I had an idea of it, and then I was like, what's the exact? She was like, it's exactly 592. Okay.
Okay. Who did she provide that information to above that connects the
missing students or the unaccompanied students.
Mm-hmm.
To whom? I don't know, you hear all the news about the number of missing children that just happened in our most recent issues as it relates to immigration and so forth. Is there any funnel up to try to find who those students are, and then a more federal umbrella back down to identify them, and then maybe provide the funding that may have been cut just because they had no data to support why it would be that high in some location. I just don't know.
Yeah. I would say we for sure try to funnel it up.
Okay.
But does it always necessarily get up to?
I don't know, I'd like to see it. I was puzzled when we added all the schools.
Right.
And then I thought, that's a number that's starting to resemble what they say are lost in the system. So who in the system is getting some of this, or is there anybody in the system getting that?
The way
we need to come back down.
The way Abby, other presentations, so because it falls under the McKinney-Pinto program, that's really the report, the way I understand her to explain it, that's the primary reporting funnel that went up to all of the McKinney-Pinto channels that were the part. Some is, what we're hearing a little bit, I'm not anywhere near informed again, but because of like everything somehow is connected to Department of Education. Department of Education is devastated now, so it may be that there's no place for these numbers to go, or they just whatever, and so it's just that's kind of bracing, like there were channels that the numbers were going to the right places, the grants and whatever. So who knows what it's going to be like from what I've been in conversations been hearing from people, what's going to happen with those numbers now. So. Before they were always going up.
Yeah, I was also thinking though about the identification of who these folks are to connect what you always hear the words about missing. And maybe they're not missing. They may be right here in our schools that represent the unaccompanied, who I don't know. It just seems to me like while that may be the system that it goes up, is that system broken also? That impacts then on what's happening as far as the money flowing back down to the schools. So I don't know.
I think we have to keep looking in the ditch.
In the what?
In the ditch.
Oh.
Where the guy is all beaten up.
Oh.
We know that there are people like that. We gotta not look the other way. We gotta take that, where can this go? How can I be a part of that? Exactly. And I'm glad that I'm a part of a congregation that already has some of that answer. Right. Not all of it, just some.
And if there isn't a system that connects the dots, that's the missing pieces that all of us
should so then you write some people.
Fixing, not just how the money would flow.
Yeah.
Right. I just wanted to know, you talked about the need for more community partners, and you said when some churches do it, other churches see it and will step up. But was just wondering how can the individual, like, is there anything we can do to facilitate making that more obvious? So you guys, you do outreach to the community, but I mean, we do our stuff a bus and we make bags and take them to our schools, but how many other churches know that? Is there any way that we can do more to facilitate connection with other community partners, or say, hey, you guys over there, you churches over there, is this something we're doing? It's real doable. Can y'all do it too? I'm just wondering what I'm saying?
That's a
how
good
can
question. And
anything we can do about that?
Yeah, and I've had in the past where I've worked with some other churches too, where they have reached out to other churches in the community and have been like, hey, you want to do this with us, or you want to partner with us? Hey, we both are kind of in this community right here. Would you like to, we're doing this for this school, would you like to do that? And so I've kind of had that done in different things, or if they are having like some type of a fundraiser or something like that, reach out to other churches and say, hey, like, we're all in the same community. would you like to partner with us on this and help support? Because a lot of times, like you said, they don't see it.
Yeah.
And so if they're like, oh, partner with you for a backpack, oh, this is needed? Oh, okay. Because I'm telling you, 12 years ago, it was said that we didn't have any kids that would need backpack bags at Round Top Elementary. I sent out a questionnaire. I got back 40-something of those questionnaires, and that was that 1 year. That was that 1 year. Like, I literally didn't have an office because it was food. So sometimes, like, people don't know until they actually see it and see what other people are doing.
When we started this, Pastor Chris was here, and in the beginning we couldn't supply any food that needed to be reheated, but that changed over time. That we could send canned goods, that were easy to open and that could be put into a dish to warm up, because some of the recipients had a way of microwaving or something like that.
I even asked that when I send out my permission form, like, do you have a way of heating food? Do you have a microwave? And even, do you have a can opener?
Well, the other one is, back when I was in school, I'd use a coffee pot and boil the water and throw the can in it.
Huh.
It'll heat it up, but it won't blow up.
Interesting.
So I mean, and then
He might have been a Boy Scout.
Might have.
and the other one is like using Corel dishes. If you have a plate on one dish, it can actually act as the lid for a bowl that can go in the microwave, so you're not splashing all over the place. I mean, there's.
Can you come teach my kids that? And then teach them how to clean a microwave. Yes, sir.
You talk about homeless people and people that have no legal guardians. But what about the people that are low income, poverty level? What kind of programs exist that can help them that y'all might be pursuing?
I'll tell you, for myself in my school, I serve everybody. It doesn't matter, including what we call the working poor. There's some people that have an idea in their head of what poor looks like, or what someone in need looks like, and what they're supposed to have and not have. I scrap that. And first thing I do is when I get a connection from a parent or someone, I sit down and talk to that person and hear their situation and determine what the need is. So yeah, to answer it, I serve everybody, and any resources that I can link for anybody, I can. Yeah, it may differ, like what resources they may qualify for, but I'm still going to try to find a service, because believe it or not, it's not, I know from my backpack program, it's not the families who qualify for the SNAP benefits that are needing the backpack program. It's the ones who are slightly not qualifying for it, but they still need help, and so they don't have that help.
You're not going to do that anymore.
So
this need is not just at the high school level. It goes into college, because the current president of the South Carolina Lutheran Men, his emphasis this year is on putting food in food pantries at the colleges, because one, either they can't afford a meal plan, or the other part is they've got so many classes going on they can't get to the food in time, and so that they need the snack or whatever, the can of tuna. I mean, I heard a story where the one student, that's what he was living on, was a can of tuna a day, type things. I mean, this is not just.
Oh no.
This is not at the primary education, it's also at the secondary.
And we have 2 kids that are in college. We have one at Winthrop and one at South Carolina State. And one thing that we were shocked to hear about is that there was a food pantry, and not just a food pantry, a resource pantry on campus. And so, like you said, not necessarily not being able to afford a meal plan, because like I know I'm paying for a meal plan, but sometimes, like our daughter, she does marching band, and so she may not have the time to get from this place to that, and misses the cafeteria or whatever being open. It may be other resources, like neither one of our kids have cars at school, and so where we may try to like provide and stock them up on different products and things like that, a lot of the kids on campus, when they fall short of those things, they have a pantry they can go to get those things. So I'm seeing that at a lot of colleges and universities nowadays.
The other part is when I was in nursing school, I was going to miss lunch. What they had worked out is that when I went down to breakfast, I'd pick up my bag lunch for the day and then take it with me. And so I mean, I'm just wondering if some of them are, are they opening their doors and saying, look, if you're in this program, you can come get a bag lunch, a bag dinner or whatever.
Yeah. I think it varies by school, probably.
Most of them have it, I think. They probably talk about it at orientation.
Yeah, so you think about your circle of prayer. Just invite you to not only the type of young people and their families we're talking about, but our social workers who serve our schools as well as our educators. So just really to continue to pray for them and support and strength in the ways that they reflect God's light through what they do every day, such as Bettina and the other 21, I guess, 22 altogether. So I encourage you that. Just a quick reminder, I usually take advantage of this somewhere along the way. Karen mentioned the kingdom vision, so and having parents teach you something like when you grow up. So I was blessed with parents who taught me when I got my allowance. Before you think about anything you're going to spend, you think about how much you're going to thank God with, right? And because everything comes as a blessing from God. We have not, I'm not casting this on that population, but we have young people in sort of, or who never were taught that or grew up that, basically when I get my first salary, I'm thinking like I'm living off 90% because my first 10% is thanking God no matter what, right? And we, the more we teach that, so the kingdom vision thing was, if we teach that as individual families and individual disciples, that when they condemned our land and gave us compensation for the 10% of our land they took, we said, okay, we know we're going to have a parking lot, which took 5 years, right? But there were folks who said, well, we need to wait and see how much we're going to need to pay our bills for this. Well, we don't do that in our personal lives. We give thanks to God first, and then we worry about how God's going to take care of that. So early on we said, okay, whatever that amount of money was, we know a minimum of 10% we're going to give thanks to God for that, because it wasn't our land, it was a blessing. So we do that in our own personal lives. And that's where we went. There were several people on the committee went out and interviewed, like, where are people in need in the community, because that's how we thank God. And we went and interviewed and found out all these young McKenna-Venti young people, youth transitioning out of foster care, unaccompanied youth, all these things that were happening. And we said, that's how we feel like God. And you might have been part of those meetings where we prayed over and said, that's how God's calling us to think. And so we took that, a minimum of 10% of that lump sum, and said, how can we help those who are doing this? And so that's where we were. There was a grant from Meadow Place, a grant for Lutheran Services and their transitional foster care program, and a grant for the Richland 2 social workers who were the frontline people. And so a couple things happened. Set up an account that's it still exists in our name, but Abby knows it's there, and like any time there's some crisis goes on that there's no other path or there's too much red tape, Abby can pick up the phone and say, one of our social workers has this situation and they really need help in the next 16 hours or 5 hours or 2 hours or whatever, and that's funds there to make that happen, right? So it won't last forever, but the fund's there. And in terms of the pantries, there were a number of pantries in the high schools and a couple middle schools that had dry goods, but Abby said we could really use some freezers where we could put, our fridge, we'll put like meats and other things that they could get, not just canned foods. So we worked with one of the local appliance companies.
Jeffrey McGill? Jeffers McGill?
Jeffers McGill, and got 6 freezers with some of that money, and took them, some of y'all are part of that, we took them delivered to the different schools. So, so that's just a reminder of how God works and how we try to model that as a congregation, how we model that in our own lives, how we model that for the generations that come afterward. We're just thinking about what I don't know how to do. I never knew how to mow a yard or something. Well, that we model what it's like to be God's people who live in gratitude to God with everything blessing we have. So thanks for the wisdom of this congregation, the spirit that enabled that to happen, and for folks such as Bettina who live that out and make that happen. So continue to spread the news, continue to reflect the light, keep these folks, all of them, in your prayers. The folks we talked about, Bettina, our social workers, because they do make a difference in the world.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.